Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Jackson, streaming live from Hefner Hall on West Street in Jackson, Mississippi. As we come before you today, we have a lot of important announcements and we have a lot of important things going on at the church. But before we get into that, I want to tell you what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. Unitarian Universalism is based on the concept of mutuality over coercion. It's based on this idea that we do better together in communion, in conversation, always leaving ourselves on the table for each other. I have a few announcements that we need to make this morning, and those announcements are Christmas cards. For service in 2 weeks, we'll be streaming from here, and we will be doing a Christmas special. And I would love to have a mailbag that I could open up and pull out Christmas cards and read those Christmas cards on air. So if you could send a Christmas card to the church on West Street, I would be very much appreciated. If you're unable to send a card, just send an email with your hopes for the coming year, with your season's greetings, and that will be read on air. We also will need singers for Christmas. And I know what you're thinking, and that doesn't mean you need to be here. If you get in touch with our AV expert, David Morgan, we will work out how you can pre-record music and make it part. So that is always on the table. We're also in the middle of our pledge drive, and I want to very much commend the Board of Trustees for the Unitarian Universalist Church of Jackson. This board has been extremely active, not just this entire year, but in this pledge drive alone, making up normal time for the year. I would actually tell you that while we are not meeting in person, the Board of Trustees is pulling double duty. They are spending more time and they are spending more of their own personal resources towards making this church happen. And I need to thank them, and you need to thank them for their service that is often very much a thankless job. This afternoon, we will be having a congregational meeting, and I hope that you all can just stay on this feed for that meeting from Zoom. It won't be streamed, but there is a Zoom link that is running currently that we have many members on right now that you will be able to find. And in the coming year, we'll be reading a few books that Patricia Ice in the UUA has recommended, one of which being How to Be an Anti-Racist. I look forward to that. I've already started reading that book, and I have just been enamored with it since we started. But as we go into service today, I have a basic opening to read because of this wreath before us. And this is on page 617 of the hymnal. And it came to pass that in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And Joseph also went up from Galilee into the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, to be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child. And so it was that while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son and wrapped him in swaddling clothes and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. At this time, I will be lighting the chalice. Our chalice lighting is written by Reverend Martia I. Valentin. Be still with me and enter. Be still with me and enter this celebration of resilience and resurrection. For we are vessels eternally rising with purpose and strength. And as we reach into this moment in Advent, I pulled the Advent reading from the Common Lectionary. And though this is not something I would commonly do, I thought it would be nice as we lit the second candle this week for Advent. This comes from Psalm 85. I will listen to what God the Lord says. He promises peace to his people, his faithful servants. But let them not turn to folly. Surely his salvation is near those who fear him, that his glory may dwell in our land. Love and faithfulness meet together. Righteousness and peace kiss with each other. Faithfulness springs forth from the earth, and righteousness looks down from heaven. The Lord will indeed give what is good, and our land will yield its harvest. Righteousness goes before him and prepares the way for his steps. And at this time, I would like to recognize the first card that we got in the mail that I heard was sent immediately after the announcement was made. So, peace on earth. Let all the world welcome this season of peace, Natalie. Thank you so much, Natalie, for that card. And before I go much further and forget, thank you to Eric Wood for this. Thank you to our musicians this morning, Zeke and Annabelle. And thank you to David Morgan, who is sitting behind the camera. At this time, I am going to bring forward Eric Wood, past president of the Unitarian Church, to talk a little bit about our pledge drive before we go into having our today's collection. Is that okay, Eric? All right.
Well, this year's pledge drive has been quite amazing so far. We have had a really good response. Can y'all see me? Okay. This year's pledge drives had a really good response. So if you've not done your pledge yet, please do. For those of you who have done that, awesome. We are doing really great as a congregation. We often focus on the financial aspect of our pledge drive, and that is very important. But this year, more than ever, we need your commitment to doing things, offering your talents, and offering your time to the church and for all the things that we're wanting to do this year. So please don't forget those parts of the pledge drive and reminding you to put that in there. All right. Thank you.
And at this time, it is my absolute pleasure to bring forth Zeke, who will be playing an offertory for us. During this time, I find it very important to say thank you to the Morgan family who has shown up for us every time we've asked them to. Thank you, Zeke, for coming and playing for us while you're home, and Annabelle, who has been doing heavy lifting for us for the last few months. And thank you so much, Annabelle. That means the world to us. Another person who does a lot of heavy lifting for us, I've asked to do a meditation for today, and that is your past president, Eric Wood.
Today's meditation is Winter Solstice by Rebecca Parker. Perhaps, for a moment, the typewriters will stop clicking, the wheels stop rolling, the computers desist from computing, and a hush will fall over the city. For an instant, in the stillness, the chiming of the celestial spheres will be heard as Earth hangs poised in the crystalline darkness and then gracefully tilts. Let there be a season when holiness is heard and the splendor of living is revealed. Stunned to its stillness by beauty, we remember who we are and why we are here. There are inexplicable mysteries, and we are not alone. In the universe, there moves a wild one whose gestures alter Earth's axis towards love. In the immense darkness, everything spins with joy. The cosmos enfolds us. We are caught in a web of stars, cradled in a swaying embrace, rocked by the holy night. Babes of the universe, let this be the time we wake to life, like spring wakes in the moment of winter solstice.
In my home growing up, the day after Thanksgiving, my father and I would go into the basement and bring up the Christmas tree and all the boxes that were required to decorate it. I remember fondly the smell of the old boxes. Boxes with lights that had been taped back together, boxes with ornaments that had been taped back together, and boxes with decorations that had been taped back together. My mom had all the original boxes, and to me, well, to you, those boxes might have smelled musty. To me, those boxes smelled like Christmas. It has been a very difficult year in my household. I suspect it has been for many of you. And it's been a very difficult year for me personally. I did not realize how much I needed face-to-face contact with the outside world. Of course, we have adapted as a people. We have the technology necessary to still see one another. We have video chat, phones, and computers. I even run a Dungeons and Dragons game online. I am also, but it's not the same. And I will also say that I am celebratedly not a hugger. Yet I have realized how much I need to see the people's face before me for conversation to feel full. And even I have to admit, I miss the hugs. And that doesn't even begin to address the increased depression that comes with isolation. And if you wonder why I'm willing to say, or I've actually had to call my doctor and double my medication over this time. And if you wonder why I'm willing to say that publicly, it's because even in 2020, depression and anxiety are treated like personal weaknesses instead of medical issues. And it won't change unless we normalize that. But I digress. I was chatting with a friend the other day. He said he and his wife were going all in for Christmas this year because of how bad the year has been. Hearing that, I decided I would go all in for Christmas. So I yelled to Alicia, "We are going all in for Christmas this year." And she yelled back, "What?" I said, "We're going all in for Christmas." And she said, "What?" I said, "We're going all in for Christmas." She goes, "Okay." And that begins with boxes. And the obvious first box that you bring down from the attic is the tree. Then the decorations. Now, some years we have a real tree, but this year we chose not to. I grew up with a fake tree, but I just called it a Christmas tree. So we thought we would use that tree this year. So down I pulled the attic ladder. Up I ascended the attic. I ignored the fact that I have to reorganize my attic, and every time I go up, it's like a deadly game of hopscotch, with warped boards for the floor and gaps between the particle board. I saw it. Way in the back, the tree. So the hopscotch began. With hands on the tree, I started moving forward, and with a quick shout, I fell through the floorboard. I suppose from one perspective, it wasn't the floor, and I did a very keen split like never seen before. My wife, she arrived because of the clatter. Because of my shouting, she knew something was the matter. My body did not appreciate this new exercise, with my leg dangling into the home office up to the thigh. But as she pulled me out of the first floor, I laughed for some reason when usually I swore. Then I pulled the tree from the attic ladder and handed it to my wife post-clatter. I took to a leave, then changed my pants and put up the tree, foregoing my happy dance. But then 2020 has never been easy. So up went the tree, not quite light and breezy. But this story will ever live onward because I posted it to Facebook, so it will be remembered forward. And I swear to you now, this poem was an accident. Like my leg dangling from the attic. Wait, what rhymes with accident? Anyway, that's how Christmas began for me in 2020. And I honestly didn't mind. See, I did not grow up celebrating Advent, at least not in the traditional way. But I grew up celebrating it in a way, which feels very you to me. Because there's a deeper truth about religious practice that's very alive in Unitarian Universalism. That is, religious practice is archetypal and representative of the journey of the human soul. Let's take some meaning behind Advent. So not growing up with the celebration of Advent in the traditional sense, every year I have to Google the practical aspects of the celebration. The most common thing I find about the traditions of Advent is that they're all slightly different, depending on who I ask, depending on what website I look at, depending on what denomination it's from. Even at the core thing, like meanings of candles, are different, especially the second candle that we lit today. I've seen that it can be interpreted to represent love. I have seen that it can be interpreted to represent faith. But after doing some digging, it makes sense. Because the candles aren't given meaning arbitrarily. Their meaning is rooted in a story, which means they're up for a matter of interpretation. What is generally common amongst that second candle is where it lives in the story. Because the first candle represents prophecy, the second represents the journey of Mary and Joseph while they were with child to Bethlehem. And as I reflect on journey, I consider our monthly theme this month of stillness. You may be asking, what does stillness have to do with journey? It reminds me of a journey based on direction, let's say faith, the reason that you're going. It reminds me that journey has a purpose. But when I consider my journey, let's take, for example, going home to see my parents. It's easy to think about leaving for the journey when I plan. It's easy to think about arriving at my parents' home. It's easy to think about stopping for lunch or dinner. It's about a 16-hour drive. But the most of the journey takes place when I run out of things to talk about, when I run out of people to call on the phone or things to see, when I'm tired of the music I'm listening to, and maybe the audio book I'm listening to isn't as exciting or long as I hoped, and everything around me, inside the car and out, becomes so familiar, I have nothing to think about. All that's left in this journey, excluding arrival, is stillness in the faith that my journey has purpose. As I look out the window while traveling, farms turn into forests, forests turn into factories, factories turn into cities, and cities turn back into farms. And home is still hundreds of miles away. It's quiet, it's still, yet I am moving on and on until I reach my destination. This past year has required of us considerable stillness. We've heard stay home, don't go visit, use alternate forms of connection. We as a people who are no longer trained in stillness are asked to change everything about who we are and be still. But we aren't asked to do this arbitrarily. We are asked to do this in a faith that this journey of stillness is important in love for others, knowing that physical connection right now can be deadly for many. It's easy to list the names of the people for whom this can be deadly: the elderly, the young, people who have already struggling with immune systems, and it goes on and on. But there's another group I think suffers when we ignore the stillness that we're being called into. Medical professionals. I've seen pictures comparing nurses before and after this year. And from these pictures, it's easy to tell that our refusal to accept this stillness is exacerbating COVID-19 and making the work of our medical professionals more deadly than it already is. Even if not due to COVID, but due to exhaustion. So that brings me to the second meaning of the candle today. Love. Unitarian Universalism is an interdependent faith. One of the first stories in the Hebrew Bible asks the question, am I my brother's keeper? The answer being asked is in such a traditional rabbinic way that the answer is intended to be yes. As the young evangelical, I was taught to put others first. I was taught that that's how we love. Love demands that we answer the question, am I my sibling's keeper? The answer is yes. Wearing a mask when going out, staying home, keeping distance. These are signs of love, and this is part of the journey we are on. It's part of our faith, because faith is a direction. It is the thing that makes hope viable. We are on a journey together, even standing still. That journey requires of us faith with the knowledge of where we are going and love for the world for which we journey on. If the story of Advent is a story of waiting, hoping, and preparation, It is a you story. We are preparing for this coming year and doing that with our first thought, asking the question, how can we do that safely with each other? How can we foster a community spirit when we shouldn't be within 6 feet? Where we not consider simply our needs, but how our needs and the needs of others are interconnected. This is Advent. This is Unitarian Universalism. This is where we are. It's our faith and our love. And as always, it's our hope. So as we close this service, I'm going to blow out the chalice. And if you know the words, say them with me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.